Knowing how to ask HR questions and how to tell HR stories is important for human resource management in general, as well as human resource analytics more specifically. We can think about how we ask HR questions and how we tell HR stories within the context and the framework of the HR Analytics Project Lifecycle, where the HR Analytics Project Lifecycle begins with question formulation, moves on to data acquisition in order to collect data that we can use to then answer that question, and then managing those data through data management, analyzing those data in the data analysis phase, and then moving on to data interpretation and storytelling around those data analytic findings. And then ultimately, hopefully it moves into what are we actually going to do with this information that we've learned about answering this question that we posed initially. And that's where we deploy and implement whatever it is that we're going to enact within the organization based on these data analytic findings and the answers we found to that initial question. Now you can see where asking HR questions and telling HR stories fits into this HR Analytics Project lifecycle. And that is that question formulation is where we ask those HR questions. So we want to learn how to do that effectively. And then data interpretation and storytelling, well, that's where we learn how to tell good stories using the HR data, or just telling a story around the process and the initial question we started with and the journey we took to ultimately get to findings that we can deploy to the organization. So what are the key topics and skills that we're going to focus on this term related to HR questions and HR stories? Well, those are as follows. We're going to focus on first how to adopt a strategic mindset and what does that mean in the context of asking good HR questions, and how does that pull everything together when it comes time to telling those HR stories. We'll then move on to what are the best practices and how do we go about defining problems and formulating questions so that we can ask questions that are going to be relevant for the HR function, for the organization, and ideally have strategic value for the organization as well. In addition, we'll focus on how do you go about conducting a literature search to know what has already been done with respect to the question we're posing. Have other organizations already looked at this? Have academics and scholars in the areas of organizational sciences and human resource management more specifically already looked at this question or some variation of the question that you initially posed? Is there anything we can learn of value from that initially before we decide, or if we decide, to go collect data at all? And after we've combed through the literature and done that search, and we've accumulated a number of studies and sources to review, that's where the literature review process comes in, and we try to synthesize and really review and tell a story around what it is that we found that others have already looked at with respect to our topic or phenomenon of interest as it relates to that question we initially asked or formulated. And then ultimately we'll focus on, well, how do we take what we've learned through this process and tell a story? And also more specifically, how do we tell a story with data? So these are not exhaustive in terms of all the different key topics and skills that would be relevant for someone in terms of asking good questions in the HR context and telling good stories in this context, but these are key ones. And so we're going to chip away at these throughout the term, and these will be distinct modules that will follow through on this term. So this wraps up the lecture on asking HR questions and telling HR stories. It's more of an orientation to where we're going to be going and what we're going to be covering as opposed to a traditional lecture.